Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Investing Bros. Hopefully those little intros with the bubbles are lasting the length of those ads that always seem to pop up at the beginning of YouTube. But it is a good day, and we got a great show lined up because guess what? Despite the fact that in yesterday's show, we even had the title of the video saying, what happens if Jerome Powell and the FOMC is dovish? We didn't think it was going to happen. And sure enough, that's exactly, if you guys missed the FOMC meeting, Jerome Powell sounded optimistic. He sounded chipper. We're going to talk about that and a lot more. What does that actually mean for Bitcoin? We're pretty much going to review those dovish outlooks. And in the technical analysis today, we're going to take a look at some prices above us on Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano. We might even jump into some other coins as well if time permits. We're going to take a look at the stock market and say, all right, what in the stock market is looking like some juicy spots here over the next couple of weeks. We will look forward to the next thing that could maybe bring a damper or continue to put fuel on the fire. And we'll be asking the question, is this actually the beginning of the bull market? I know, it's crazy. I feel weird just saying it, but we've got a lot of evidence that has come in that the bottom could already be in. We got a lot of things lining up to say we got a lot of upward movement to make. I'm not saying we're going to hit a new all-time high next week, but whew, things are looking bullish in the crypto space. If you guys are excited, my throat. If you're excited for that and you don't have something in your throat, or even if you do have something in your throat, go ahead and smash that like button. Yes, that's that four-fingered mitten right below the screen that you are watching right now. And if you are new here, thank you so much for choosing us this morning. We go live every morning from 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, weekdays. That's Monday through Friday. So go ahead and subscribe. You get more great content just like this. I am joined by the amazing, the fantastic, the phenomenal, the jubilant T-Shroom this morning. How are you doing, T-Shroom?
I'm doing better than I deserve, Tim.
Ooh, yes.
And I've got a very juicy quote for us today that I've conjured up from none other than the interwebs themselves.
Ooh.
So let's check out that right now. Patience is not the ability to wait, but the ability to keep a good attitude while doing so. By Ezra Harvin. And nobody knows patience and keeping a good better than someone who's been holding through this downtrend in natural gas, and that would be your boy T-Shroom.
Wow.
So I'm doing good, even though I'm down quite a bit on my long position in natural gas, but I'm positive because in the past I've held through deep losses in U.S. steel, and I held that for 3 years, and I was able to sell that and break even. I have a strong conviction in those type of commodities. But yeah, that's the quote of the day. I'm feeling good. And yeah,
I love it. Well, T-Shroom, before we move on, we're about to jump in and read some names of people in chat, people in Discord. We got a very, very big announcement today about that Discord that you do not want to miss, but I'm going to wait till the end of the show to give it, so make sure you stay tuned for that. But speaking of T-Shroom, anything we're going to be covering in the second half hour, we want to tease a little bit, and then we'll read some of those names.
Oh, yes, we do. Okay, let's get to that. The first thing that we're going to be doing is hearing from somebody who's trying to be bearish in the market. Ooh. Charlie Munger. You may have heard of him. He's kind of Warren Buffett's right-hand man. He's trying to be bearish, but we'll interpret that in a moment.
I actually hadn't even heard that story. I can't wait to get to that one. That's gonna be fun.
We'll talk about Meta's earnings. We'll cover that because that was extremely important yesterday. Got overshadowed, obviously, by the Fed story, but that was really important. We'll talk about, actually, we should go ahead and just do this now because this is very important. I'll go ahead and report the Bank of England's interest rate decision met forecast. So 4% to 4% up. 50 basis points from 3.5. Obviously, that's the math. And then the ECB did the exact same thing, coming from a different initial point of 2.5%, up 50 basis points to 3%. So up 50 basis points for the ECB and the Central Bank of England. And we will talk about also some other stuff, though. Let's see. We've also got a couple other things we want to talk about. The word disinflationary is hopefully a word we're going to be hearing a lot more. It's the first time that Powell used it in his past press conference, and that word is now extremely important in the human economic lexicon, and we're going to be diving into that a little bit more, what that could kind of mean for the economy and for your portfolio.
Ooh, cool. Well, let's read some names, some special names, starting off with our Patreon and Discord paid members. The 3 special shout-outs for today will be Tom Wilkes, Mitch Shaw, and Justin Eubanks. If you guys are in chat, give me a let's see, what should they say to me in chat? A yo-yo. Let's go yo-yo.
A yo-yo.
I don't know if I've seen the names just yet, but I haven't looked at all of them. Let's go over to YouTube. Let's see who is here. The first commenter today was Yair Navarro with the old GM. Once again, major support for that motor company, General Motors. They are killing it. Who else is here? Mr. J is here. He's another one who's over there in our Discord. Let's see. Win Peoples is here this morning. By the way, Win Peoples commented on a video, that short that I made, T-Shroom, about marriage trip to like
oh yeah.
Well, I made 2 different marriage ones. The ones I think he commented on the one about the debate between my wife and I, that she likes to eat pickled okra, spicy pickled okra, and then she doesn't see anything wrong with asking for a kiss.
Yeah.
And it's hard for me. When people said he's been married for 33 years and his advice is pick your battles, and that's not one to choose. Yeah. So, like, maybe, I got a long way to go before I glean that kind of wisdom, but shout out to Win Peoples. V Slim is also here. That was a long tangent. V Slim is here. Mr. Bitcoin, Curtis Rorick, Crypto Ben Franklin is here. Crypto Ben Franklin's also in that Discord already. Cryptex, moderator. He also was one of the ones that helped us build that Discord. Shout out to him. Indeed. Justin Eubanks, Gionali 516. Servando Estrada, Ninja Glock, Eric Wallen. Eric Wallen, I think, is the #1 commenter in the Discord, so shout out to him. Steve Schrum, Henry C. Hernandez, and we'll do one more. Seek and Hunt. Thank you so much for being in the chat this morning. If I did not say your name, that does not mean we do not love you. It just means it's time to move on. But I did actually have one announcement real quick, and I know we've been really positive, we've been upbeat, and it's going to be a good show today, and I don't want to take away from that. But this is a community, and we're trying to build a family atmosphere here, and there's some really rough news in the family. So one of our members in our Discord, and she's a member of a lot of different places. She's heavily embedded in the crypto community. You guys know her, Gia S. She's going through the ringer right now. So I'm going to ask all of you guys to be praying. Her daughter is in the hospital, was in critical condition. Supposedly is doing a little bit better, but the doctors are saying she's not out of the woods yet. So GS's daughter, she also has 2 children. So if something goes wrong, she's leaving behind family. So if you guys are believers, please be praying over Gia. If you just want to send good vibes, good wishes, if you have any way to reach out to her, I'm not telling all the information, but just tell her that you heard from Tim and you're just thinking about her and you love her, and we're praying that all of that gets resolved very soon. So love you, Gia. I don't think she's gonna be watching this episode, but we love you. Whew, hard transition there. Hard transition. We gotta get back into it. T-Shroom. Is it time for anything else? Is it time to jump in TA?
I think it's time to jump right on in to TA, Tim.
All right. Got to transition here. Whew. That's always hard. That's always hard to talk that stuff. All right. Let's get positive again, guys. We're going to be talking about Bitcoin here first. Today, I'm going to go over Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Cardano. I'm not going to go crazy into it. There are a couple things I want to mention, though. I know T-Shroom, we were looking through some articles, and I want to make sure you guys see these things before I jump into my technical analysis. But let's start over here. I'm going to start on this chart where I can make it nice and clean. And let's pull up our SMAs, and let's go to the weekly chart. This is something that we have never seen before.
That's a good looking chart.
It's looking like we could see this happen within the next 2 to 3 weeks, and that is this green line crossing below this red line. So you might be saying, all right, Tim, why are we looking at green and red lines? Well, on the SMA, the weekly SMA, this green line right here is the 50 SMA. The red is the 200. Whenever you see a smaller moving average cross below a larger one, that's considered a death cross. Well, one of the strongest death crosses there are out there is the 50 over the 200. But what makes this one kind of particular, by the way, sometimes death crosses aren't the worst thing in the world. Sometimes they end up being markers of bottoms. But what makes this one peculiar, if it does happen, is we have never seen the 50 weekly cross below the 200 on the weekly chart. So I'm just scrolling back. Remember, we're looking at the green line, red line. That red line has been below. We've never done it. We got kind of close right here back in November of 15, but this was right after we started a little rally. Kind of similar to what we got going on right here. Let's actually, I'm just noticing this right now. So we're going to kind of cover this as we go. We got a little rally out of the bear market bottom right there. The green looked like it was about to cross the red, but it ended up turning. T-Shroom, isn't that not kind of a little similar to what we're going on and seeing right here? It's not the same. This one definitely looks like it could cross, and the lot's got to happen to change its mind.
Yeah,
but
I see that.
That is something to keep your eye on. The last time we had a really good look that the green was going to cross below the red, the 50 below the 200, was at the beginning of the new bull market that we started and went into in 2017. So interesting. Yeah. Just kind of keep going back here. The 200 only goes back as far as September of 13. So that was our only really good look. But that is something. Keep your eyes there. Are we going to actually cross? I would say probably. And some people are going to say bearish. My point on this one is I want to show you guys just so you guys can do with this information what you want. We've never seen this happen before, so it's not like we can say, oh, if the 50 cross below the 200, bear market's coming back for sure. Like, well, we don't know. We've never seen the 50 cross below the 200 on the weekly chart. So just keep your eyes on that one. Speaking of moving averages, though, let's get a little more positive with golden crosses that we've had here recently. So right here we have the 50 crossing above the 100 here just a couple of days ago. We also, before that, I think I've mentioned this one before, but the 20 crossing above the 200. And then the one that is coming up. So remember we talked about the green crossing below the red over on the weekly chart being a death cross. Well, guess what? The opposite of that is called a golden cross, and this one is looking more likely where the 20 or the 50 SMA on the daily chart could be crossing above the 200. That would be a golden cross. So we got a little mixed bag here with the SMAs, a little bit of bullish, a little bit of bearish. Do with that information what you will. I'm going to put more weight probably on the bullish and the daily golden cross than I am on that weekly death cross. We'll see how that comes out in the future. Let's go back and take a look and examine some things here. So we discussed this over the last couple of days when we were kind of analyzing what is Jerome Powell and the FOMC going to do? Are they going to be hawkish? Are they going to be dovish? We're not sure. Well, guess what? I think some people still somewhat believe that it was kind of hawkish. I kind of described it yesterday when we actually ended up going live. I joined late. T-Shroom did a phenomenal job opening that up.
Thank you.
I described it as he was kind of dawkish. Was he open that they don't have inflation where it is? Yes, they were very open about that. But he used for the first time the word disinflation. We'll talk more about that down the road. That's a dovish word. And he almost made it sound like, hey, we like what the economy looks like, but we don't want to end these rate hikes too early and risk. He even said that if you guys were watching, he was like, we don't want to have gotten so close and find out later that we missed it by this much. So he pretty much was saying, we're going to keep raising rates. That's the hawkish side that he said. But he almost said, like, we're raising rates, but we are definitely getting close to fixing this problem. To me, that is dovish. So therefore, I'm saying he was dawkish yesterday. But in case you were still wondering and saying, oh, was it dovish? Was it hawkish? We had a wick last night that got us above that 24,000. Yes, we ended up closing back down below, and we're currently hovering right here at 23,800. But sometimes these types of things are foreshadowings of where the price really wants to go. For example, this wick that we had back on the 25th of January, it wicked all the way up here towards 23,800. Then we came back down, kept moving sideways, and sure enough, the other day, we ended up going even above that. So is this wick a foreshadowing of the price action to come, especially with the fact that it wasn't just us? A lot of people were expecting more of a hawkish approach. Now that we're finding out it's actually dovish, now that we're seeing the FOMC is actually sitting in a good mood, people probably are reconsidering what they want to do with their money. People who were preparing to sell and take profit, by the way, I was one of them. I had money sitting, waiting to take some profit, buying a lower dip. After hearing that press conference, I said, nope, I'm going to let this sucker ride. How many other people are doing that? So we're waiting for those things to catch back up. And if we can get above this 24,000, as we talked about, it's not that hard to get above 25.2. And what happens if we get above 25.2? That's when things really start to get exciting. Let's pull up our fixed range volume profile. By the way, when we do our AMA later today, that was another announcement for all our Discord members, the paying Discord members. We have an AMA this afternoon, 3 to 4. We're going to be covering more about how to use fixed range volume profile. We'll cover bearish and bullish divergences. So that's a teaser in case you guys want to join that Discord, join the Patreon and get in that. But we had this peak right here sitting right below 24. that if we can actually get above and start crossing and closing, let me zoom in a little bit so you can see it a little bit better. If we can actually start riding up this hill, it's a kind of downward hill motion, like just the same way if you start going on a car down a mountain, you kind of can take your foot off the gas. It just easily gets there. The dip, the valley, which is a very important part, is right here at 25.2. But notice there's just almost no volume whatsoever separating us from the 28,400. I think 28,000 is very reasonable. That also takes us back to some things that we had back here a couple of months ago that were former support. It would make a lot of sense to get back up here towards 28,000, start hitting some of these former support levels, turning them into resistance. If we can start closing above 24,000, watch out. That's exactly what could be happening here on Bitcoin, as the mood of the entire market kind of shifted from being very scared off and like, hey, this was a good rally, but it's time to return and go back to the downside. And now we're like, oh crap, no, we have further room to the upside. For me, I'm looking and watching what does Bitcoin's price look like when we start approaching 28,000 again. That's my next level when I'm looking at taking some profit for the purpose of holding some more dry powder for the next dip. That's what I'm looking at. For example, and I want to show you guys something I put out on the Discord yesterday. I'm going to show you an example of what this has kind of looked like in the past, and another reason why I think it would be interesting for us to rally that high and then come back down here towards 21.5. So let me just go ahead and draw a pretend scenario. Let's just pretend something like this might happen. We come up, we touch this 25, we come back down, find support around 24, we break through, we kind of flutter right in here, maybe even come back down, turn this to support, end up hitting this 28.4, and then we start making our way back down. We set lower lows, and we end up coming back down to hit 21.5, 21.6, and then we move back to the upside, right? So nothing I said here is exact time predicaments. Don't read into that. It's just moments and movements before we come back down, and the next dip is going to come back down to this 21, 21.6, 21.5 level, which was the peak we had back here in November of 2022. So Tim, why are you talking about this? Why could this be the move that Bitcoin's price ends up taking? Well, to answer that, let's go back here and let's look at the last time that we had a bear market and we started to make our way out of it. And that was back here. Let's look at this peak we had before the big dip, November of 2018. We peaked out. We dropped. This was the bear market bottom. We moved sideways for a little bit of time. We ended up rallying back up. And sure enough, look at this. We broke through, came back down, tested level of support, came up, kept rallying, hit a nice level up here at 13,800. And then we started making our way back down and found this level of support again. Now, you might be saying, Tim, bad example. Look, we went below it. That was what we call a pandemic. And I can't say the word. I don't know if YouTube lets us say that word, the C word. I'm going to not say it for the sake of not putting myself in hot water. The point is, don't pay attention to that. That shouldn't. What?
Clinton. It's a different word.
That could be worse. We're gonna move on. This doesn't count. This was the pandemic fall. That was what we call a black swan event. It doesn't. So just pretend you can't even see any of that. Former resistance turned into support after a nice little breakout rally. Could the exact same thing happen? Of course, this is expecting that we are, in fact, the bottom is in, and I've done that in previous streams. This is why we think the bottom is in. This is why there's a lot of things that correlate to the past. Well, this is another example. Could we see the exact same thing happen? Again, former resistance that started off our big dip to the official low. We moved sideways. Now we're rallying up out of it. Whether we get up to 25.4, whether we get up here and we stay in the middle somewhere on 26, or whether we get all the way up to 28, I'm expecting the next dip. In case you guys are wondering, and this is not financial advice, this is just what is Tim Warren doing. The next time Tim Warren finds a place that he wants to take profit, he's going to be holding some of that money to rebuy in down here at 21,600. More than likely, just so you guys know, I'll probably end up buying somewhere around 22, just because I like to make the practice of when I pick my spot, if it's a buy spot, I buy a little bit above it. If it's a sell spot, I sell a little bit below it, because the worst thing in the world, and this has happened to me, is when you have a perfect spot on your chart and you miss it by a whopping like $6. It's the worst feeling in the world. You miss out on the entire trend. So I have learned, do not buy perfect, buy good. And that's how I operate there. Let me know in chat what you guys think about that with Bitcoin. Do you think this is realistic? Do you agree? Do you think, nope, Tim, you're wrong. That little wick we had last night was a fake out and we're actually going down this morning. You're wrong about Jerome Powell. He was hawkish yesterday. Bitcoin is going and setting new lows. I want to hear what you guys think below. That is just what I just showed you guys, my opinion based off of what I heard from Jerome Powell yesterday. I'm going to move on to Ethereum and Cardano, but T-Shrimp, any thoughts from you before we move on, or anything you saw in chat that we should address?
Looking good. I mean, Army Piper's watching. Always love to see
Love Army Piper. If you guys didn't watch that episode yesterday, You should. Let me show something real quickly. Just talking about that, he said no matter what happens, watch for the rest of the day us hover below, and he said 23,800 or so, and he said we're not going to drop below the 22.5. Yes, we had a wick, but notice that wick even on the 4-hourly chart, we couldn't even close it there. We came right back down. Good call by him that he's like, hey, wait till the next day, and then you're going to see the real movement. So today is the day to look. Today is the day to say, all right, what does the market want to do? But like I mentioned a second ago, with that wick that quickly went up there and then fell back down, I think that probably is like almost a sign of what's to come. Hey, guys, the market's not ready for it just yet, but we really do want to move to the upside and break that 24. So let's keep an eye out for that. Let's move on to Ethereum and talk about Ethereum here a little bit. Now, Ethereum, we've mentioned this a couple times. It was one of the coins that was more boring. So it's really good to see it kind of beat some peaks that it had over the last couple of weeks. Because Ethereum, unlike other projects, once it topped out here, like it hit its peak back on the 21st, and then it started moving to the downside. Whereas Bitcoin and like Cardano, Bitcoin kept moving up. Cardano started moving down, but then it started moving back up. Ethereum kind of stayed boring. And I made the prediction. I said, I think the next rally, when we're talking about some of the larger coins, maybe top 10, maybe top 20, watch for Ethereum to be one of the bigger movers. Well, it's too early to say for certain, but let's just look at this. Last 24 hours here, Ethereum's up 2.4%, Cardano only 1.9%, Bitcoin only 0.7%. So could we see that start to take its trend? Part of the reason why it was like that was because when you pull up the SMAs, it was one that it had been hovering around the 20 a lot longer. Bitcoin got well above its 20. We didn't even officially touch it here yesterday. Cardano did come down and touch it, but it was hovering for the most part well above it. Ethereum was staying more conservative right around that 20. So now it's starting to find its little lift off here. Could we see Ethereum on this next leg of this rally be one of the bigger leaders? We'll have to find out a little bit later. Let's check out a couple other things though about it. Let's see, what is Lux Algo saying about it this morning? There's a level above us. It's saying watch out for that 1760. Well, that's actually 1727 up to about 1787 range. You guys can see right here, we did get up overextended, but now we moved sideways out of it. We got a lot of room to the upside. Technically speaking, what am I using right now? Am I using Contrarian? I am using Contrarian. So let's change this to confirmation. Now that we're in it, we did have a buy signal come in here a couple of days ago with the take profits hovering up here between 1852 and it goes all the way up towards 2100. What I'm keeping an eye on with this next move, and especially when we're talking about Bitcoin potentially making it up above 25.2 and maybe heading towards 28, I'm watching for Ethereum. Can we get back up to 2000? This is a mark and a peak that we had back in August of 2022. So that's what I'm kind of looking at right now. Let's take down our Lux Algo. Let's look at some other things happening here. Let's pull up our fixed range volume profile, see some levels to keep your eyes on. I don't know how far back I want to go. Let's start with this much, and then I'll see. Yeah, I might want to include more. I'll stay here for right now. I'll stay here. We're going to talk more about this in that meeting. So some levels that are above us that I'm looking at. The first one, we're kind of hovering right here in a valley point. So it's really important that we keep moving to the upside. If you guys are looking at my chart right there, little valley before a small peak. If we can get up and start hitting this peak now, I'm looking. The next spot I'm watching before serious resistance is 1851. Then we get some more around 1884. So this zone right here, if I were to put a box, this zone right here is going to be an interesting one to watch with all of that. And then if we can break through that, which I'll go ahead and extend that over. Now we're talking about not just getting up towards 20,000. There's a good chance, 2,000. If we can get above 2,000, maybe we're coming down here to this valley here at 21.6. A lot of things to keep your eyes on there, but that's what the volume is kind of looking at right now. Even when I'm looking at this, guess what that 21.6 is? That 21.6 is this level of support we had back in January last year. So a whole year ago, back when we were starting off the bear market, but people weren't convinced it is one yet. This is a significant level. Let me flash back over to Bitcoin to show you. I like this level for a lot of different purposes. So Ethereum 21.6, a good level to look at for some taking profit and some resistance. If you were to go over to Bitcoin, that level is going to be up towards 33,000. If we were, because I've seen people talking about getting into the 30s. If we break through 28 and we get through all this volume right here, watch out for 33,000, another key level. Cardano, let's see what Cardano's going to be somewhere around 74 cents. That's pretty much the same timeline. That was technically February, so it's a little delayed, but same thing. Big support level, big former support level that should be turning into resistance, probably somewhere in between that zone and about 77 cents. Either way, when it comes to Ethereum, they got some big things coming out. I know they have a new update coming very soon. So watch for Ethereum as a big leader of this next little rally and looks, again, levels above us. I think starting with this 18, $18,000 range, somewhere between 18 and 19, followed by 20,000. Yeah, I keep speaking like I'm talking about Bitcoin. 1,800 to 1,900, then 2,000, and then we're talking about 2,100. Thank you for staying with me, guys, on that. That was confusing as all get out, because it's whenever you bounce back and forth between those two, the numbers are similar, but they just have one less zero for Ethereum. Let's talk a little bit of Cardano here. Now, Cardano, again, it had a good little rally here coming out. It hit its prediction of this falling wedge pattern we had, the smaller time frame that started back here in November. We hit that prediction at 38 cents. Did not quite get to the Cardano community one at 49 cents by the end of January. That's okay. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that line, and that probably is going to be the last time you guys hear me talk about it. The next spot that I'm looking at with Cardano, there's actually a couple, but the big next one I'm looking at is about 56 cents, and that is because of this falling wedge pattern right here. If we go back, and I've shown you guys this before, but I want to just kind of reiterate, this is what I'm getting that line from, so I can go ahead and get rid of that because I already had the line. 56 cents would make a lot of it would make some points there. I think when you're looking at other levels, if you don't want to pick that 56 perfectly, you could do one of two things. One, you could look at the peak that we had back here in August and say, all right, let's look at 59 cents potentially. Maybe if you're going to do candle body closes, 57. You also would pull up our fixed range volume profile, take all of this information, and you're going to find a little valley right here at 55 cents. So that's another good spot. And you even have a peak right there at 55 cents. So valley peak. I think anywhere, this is going to be the zone that I'm watching for a big Cardano breakout. Let's go ahead and move it all the way up here, somewhere in this little pocket. It's going to get very interesting to watch what's currently happening with the news. What's the momentum look like when we're looking at oscillators and we're looking at Luxalgo and we're looking at different moving parts? What does Cardano look like? But I think this is going to be a really important level to keep your eyes on. Not just that, though. There is some levels between us, though. Let's go over and look at my other chart here. Go to Cardano. Boom. This is some levels that I'm keeping my eyes on. We're now officially in it, but I've been talking about this for a little while. This zone between 40 cents and 43 cents. To me, I think this is almost kind of similar to when we were talking about Bitcoin between 24 and 25. It's kind of the same equivalency. Let's see. Let me actually go back here. I'm going to change this because this will be easier to see. Yeah. So this little zone right here, when we're talking about Bitcoin breaking through and being between 24,000 and 25, watch Cardano during the same process be working through its 40 cent to 43 cent region. If we break above it, that's when we're talking about these zones above us. Where did my thing go? Was I drawing on the other chart? Oh, well, that's fine. I'll have to redraw it here. I said right here, 55. Let's go down here. And I said all the way up to about right there, and we'll extend it over. Boom, and I'll go ahead and just draw this over. Sorry about that, guys. Watch for if we break through. As if Bitcoin struggles between 24 and 25, Cardano 40 to 43. When Bitcoin starts to make a push towards 28, watch Cardano potentially make a push up into the mid-50s. That's what I'm looking at with Cardano. Now, it is an altcoin, and it is Cardano. Cardano's unpredictable, so this is just me speculating a lot. Cardano could do one of two things, or it could do one of three things. It could do exactly what I'm saying right here. That's number one. Number two, it could decide, you know what, screw you, Tim. We're just going to go ahead and blow back up to $1 and start rallying way up there. That's absolutely possible. I've seen Cardano be ridiculous like that before. The third one is it could say, screw you, Tim, the other way and just reject right here and end up going to the downside. Let me know what you guys think is going to happen there. I don't expect option 3 to happen. In fact, if I had to put betting money on it for some weird reason, I think it's going to do option 2. Maybe not all the way to $1, but say, you know, screw you, Tim, on trying to limit what our cap can be here at 55 cents. Watch us ride back up to peaks that we had back in June and get up towards 70 cents. We'll have to see what happens there. But Cardano, it's a really, really wild game. You never know what's happening there. So let's take a look. One more. We have like a minute here.
Do it.
We did have on our bubbles, AVAX is moving heavily today. So let's take a quick look at old AVAX. And I'm actually going to switch to this one because I think I have more information on it over there. Yeah, so AVAX very quickly getting very close to a prediction that we made a couple of weeks ago with this falling wedge pattern, this red line. This is the breakout. This is the opening. Moved over to the breakout. This gives us a price prediction for AVAX sitting right here at 23.60. Now, here's the thing. Same as the other coins. This will be nice to hit it for now, but I think what we're looking at is possibly a little above us. Let me look at some fixed range volume for you guys. I think a key level, let's look back here. This is January 2022, right? Yes. Watch that level right there, $53 for AVAX, be significant. But you're going to notice, yeah, I'd have to back this up even more. So let me show you guys what happens if I go all the way back here. There's a big gap in volume. I gotta zoom in for you guys. Big gap of volume. If we get above 33, there's just not a lot separating us from coming all the way back up towards 56, those levels I'm talking about right here. So keep your eyes on AVAX. AVAX could look very special. We'll definitely keep up to date with it and what's happening here. My first eye is 23. Let's then watch potentially somewhere in this region between 26 and 28. But if we can keep rallying and get into the 30s, that could be the beginning of something special with AVAX. It's one of the coins that I'm definitely holding into this next bull market. Can't wait to see what my profits do with that. T-Shroom, that is the end of my crypto TA. Let's go ahead and jump in. I think I'm 30 seconds over. The stock market is now officially open.
Yeah.
What is happening over there?
Well, it feels like a new day, Tim. So we're going to start with a new indicator set, and I'm trying it out today. This is Yahoo Finance. This is the biggest movers by the day. And this is currently by market cap. So you see it's the big trillions here. Apple up 2.6%, Alphabet up 2%, Alphabet up 5.7%, both of their share classes, and Tesla up 3%. So Tesla actually lagging a little bit, but it's still obviously out here up at the top. Let's take a look at the charts, and we'll start with energy as we almost always do. Natural gas getting a little bit of a tick up today, but not too much. And then oil kind of selling off a little bit, but not too much. So energy not really reacting too strongly from the news from yesterday. As we've seen, I'm on the weekly charts for some reason. Let's go down to the daily. As you can see, oil has returned down to the 67 to 65 support that it had put in back here in the 11th of January. So it's coming back down. It's testing that. Will it break lower? We shall see. That a break low would be really good for the U.S. economy. That would continue to bring inflation down lower. Although, as we will get to in a little bit, Jerome stated that oil has already done what it needs to do. It's now up to the housing market to come down. I don't really look at a stock. I mean, there is one. We'll skip that. We need housing to come down, guys. The housing prices, the housing market needs to come down in order for inflation to come down to that target 2%. So energy has done what it needs to, and we're going to continue to keep looking down here at the indexes, guys. The NASDAQ coming out so strong. The Dow actually red. This is a clear signal every single day. This is how I report this. This is a clear signal of rotation out of security into risk, of which the NASDAQ has the most. Also, the S&P has more than the Dow Jones, and you are seeing that up 0.9, almost 1%. I haven't looked at it yet, guys, but my prediction is that the oil producers are down. Yes, look at this. This is the definition of security in 2022. These names did the best. They outperformed every other company in the stock market because they were so needed. They were so needed as all the market forces basically pumped these guys up. They were underbought because of a lot of ESG narratives, and now they are coming down because they're old news. The oil producers. That is a narrative that we've been covering, that I've been watching. Another huge important narrative: bond yields down greatly. The British bond yield. This is scary. I don't know why it's this low. Down 6.3% today. That is a giant candlestick, guys. So we already kind of looked briefly across the pond.
Wouldn't that have to do with their
absolutely it does. Their new rate rate hike. Yeah. So we can look really quickly, guys. We already covered it at the beginning of the show, but really quickly, this is the Bank of England's interest rate decision. It met forecast, but it is 50 basis point hike. So the fact that their gilts are selling off, their bonds, they're called gilts, are selling off that sharply, that is what does that mean? I mean, that means that they're starting to lose faith in the institution that backs the bond, in their government there. I mean, it's not at a point where it's like selling off to historic lows or anything, but it's selling off quickly. It's selling off sharply. But you guys, you more than likely are not invested in British bonds, so we'll keep moving. We'll keep looking. Seeing green here on the DXY. This is a pretty big surprise. It did take a nice little move to the downside here, but it is printing a green candle this morning on the daily chart. So interesting there. Cannabis, big movement again into risk, into these risky stocks here that are cannabis for sure. And then your mid caps. Not surprised that these are all in very green territory here, with Snowflake leading the way up 5%. Robinhood not far behind, and then Jenny not far behind that either. All right, so that's going to be our market wrap up there. I want to actually zoom. I don't think we looked at big tech, which is extremely important. We saw it on Yahoo Finance briefly, but let's go ahead and take a look here at Apple, which was actually down quite a bit the other day. It is gapped up, guys. This spells to me that the market is thinking we are out of the woods. What it interpreted yesterday from Jerome Powell is saying we are out of the woods. Yesterday, as predicted, as I covered on our Fed decision live stream, we had giant wicks to the upside and to the downside. So there's a lot of confusion as you have like minute to minute algos trying to interpret what Jerome Powell was saying in that very hour that he was saying it. And then you get a big decision. And that decision came today at market open, and it is a giant gap to the upside for Apple. Let's check some of the other big tech stocks. My guess is that you're going to see the exact same thing. That's Microsoft confirmed, Google confirmed, Amazon confirmed, Tesla confirmed. Guys, these are your I didn't mean to move that. These are your FANG stocks moving extremely precipitously to the upside. And that is all because of your boy, Jerome Powell, on our thumbnail. Really quick, before we get any further, let's take a moment for some humor. These were some of the AI-generated images we were considering for our thumbnail this morning.
Can you please show like the 100-fingered?
And I will get to it.
Oh my gosh.
This is another good render, but we were going to use this one, guys. But as you can see, it didn't actually show Bitcoin. It's like the back of somebody's head for some reason. Okay. But then this was the one we ended up using. But look at all those fingies. Look at all those fingies. That's not what you want.
The right hand is beautiful. The right hand is immaculate.
Yeah.
What's going on over the left side?
It's a good right hand.
Is AI trying to tell us something about who Jerome Powell actually is?
Ooh, maybe.
Does AI know something that we don't know
about Jerome?
About Jerome?
It might be. It might be. Well, guys, while we're in the realm of silliness, let's take a look over here because Army Piper just gave a giant super chat, one of our biggest super chats that we've seen in a while, donating $49.99 of good old American USD. He said, "Huge trading profits yesterday, bros. Thanks for having me on your show. It was a blast. Glad I didn't make a crap call on your live. LOL. Peace, love, and happy trading. Hit the like."
Yeah.
Wow. We need an air horn for the $49.99 super chats. We will get an air horn for those, and we will be blasting out our eardrums with that.
Yeah, thank you so much, Army Piper. Again, sometimes I forget that super chats are a thing, and that reminds me. I wanted to make sure you guys know every single month. This is a segment. I should have done this yesterday, but I want to update you guys on some things that we've hit and some things that we've done. So you guys know, those of you who have been with us for a little bit, that we talked about early on. Like right now, T-Shroom and I, we do not take any dollar from the show. Any dollar that comes in is either going to be going to equipment, processing new stuff, like being able to do more content,
better cameras.
But no matter what happens, like someday I would love to get back to where we can do this full time. We don't have to have other jobs. We can make our money on this. But no matter what money comes in, whether we make $1 or we make $1 million, 20% is going to be going back to charity. And part of the things I want to be very upfront with you guys about is I want every single month to let you guys know, based off of everything we're doing, how much money we have to give to charity. So it's not going to be a whopping amount this month. We had about 2 weeks of it. But I want you guys to know, from super chats, from ads on YouTube, from the people that joined our Patreon, we have raised about $70 just in those 2 weeks of January to be giving to a charity. So what we're going to do is we're going to, at the end of every single quarter, we're going to be looking and we're going to be giving those, and we're going to let you guys know what's happening there. But anytime, in case you guys are wondering, anytime you give a super chat, if you guys join our Patreon, part of what you're doing is not just going to be able to make this channel better and this community better, but it's also going to be going out to help others. So shout out to Army Piper. Shout out to everyone who was a part of helping us in January. And again, we wanted to celebrate with you guys. $70 are going to be going out here in the next couple of months. So that's all because of you guys. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And if you guys want to join the team, if you are liking what you're seeing, we do have higher than usual views today. So there's probably some new folks. Mm-hmm. If you guys are liking what you're seeing, you can always join the Patreon. And I have it pulled up here. This is our Patreon account. We've got 3 tiers and all kinds of awesome exclusive content. And the Discord is popping, guys. Just ask anybody in the chat. Most of the folks there are in the Discord and absolutely loving it. So let's go ahead and let's jump into our stories, of which we have many, guys. There's no shortage of stories this morning on both on the crypto side and the fundamental traditional finance side. So Solana based DeFi protocol Everland announces shutdown. So they kind of missed their mark. They were almost in the clear, getting back into the bull market here, but they had to go ahead and shut down. Not exactly sure what the details of that were, but if you were in that, that's good. It's good to know what's going on there. BitHub's ex-chairman Kang Jong-hoon arrested. Pretty big news there. Not affecting too many people in the United States, more than likely though. OpenSea's Polygon NFT sales top Ethereum for second straight month. Guys, this is pretty big news for Polygon, and it is really, really good. Sam Bankman-Fried barred from contacting FTX employees via encrypted messages through apps like Signal. So that's pretty interesting. I don't know how they're going to enforce that, but that's interesting. That's kind of one of the things we were talking about last week. And that is going to almost conclude our crypto news headlines, except for Berkshire Hathaway's Charlie Munger calls for crypto ban in the U.S. There he is, this guy right here. I don't know exactly what the context was. I kind of don't care. But there's Warren Buffett. You can't. I don't care how anti-crypto Warren Buffett becomes. I'm never going to stop loving Warren Buffett. He just is misguided. When you're a guru like Warren Buffett and you've had your beliefs confirmed again and again and again, it's kind of hard not to stick to what you know. But Charlie Munger, on the other hand, not anywhere near as much of a legend as Warren Buffett. So when I don't know if he's one of those indicators. You'll have to let me know, Tim, or let me know in the chat if you guys know. When Charlie Munger comes out bearish on Bitcoin, is that one of the bottoming indicators? I think it is. I can't remember exactly.
I can tell you this right now. Literally any person of significance, when they make a statement, it's used. Well, when I say that, when a hater of Bitcoin says something, so we got what's his name, the gold guy.
Oh, Peter Schiff.
Peter Schiff. He can get in there as a bottom signal. When people, I mean, it's just in general. When you see the narrative start to shift super bearish, sometimes you're like looking at it like, oh, let me find a good place to buy. When you see the narrative shifting, everyone's like, oh, Bitcoin is amazing. It's the greatest. It's the best things in sliced bread. That's when you're like, oh, maybe I should be taking some profit. Mm-hmm. So, but when it comes to Munger sticks to his guns. But the fact that they're posting what he's saying, to me, is a little bit more bullish. Oh my gosh, we got another super chat from Army Piper. Goodness, he said, when I realized I was about to retire from the Army after 21 years of service, I had to decide what to do next. I decided I wanted to be a TA Tim when I grow up. Okay. Yeah, well, look at that. That's awesome. He mentioned earlier, he said that I was one of the reasons why he wanted to make his own stream. That is super honoring, and I'm very humbled to be that way. I have gotten to watch Army Piper's show here a little bit, and I gotten to be on it. He's got great stuff going on. What do you do other than making shows? Every time I go on YouTube, I see Army Piper and Charts Prime is live. So I'm like, oh my goodness, like you just are pumping out content. You're great. Yeah. Make sure you go show him love and support because he has some great analysis. If you guys watched yesterday's show and got to see what he did, he just does that all the time. So make sure you go over there, support him. Thank you so much for the gifting, Army Piper, and thank you for the love. We love you as well, for sure.
Absolutely. Well, we've got a couple of TradFi stories here. One actually comes from India, and this is a story. Oh goodness, it's not gonna. It's giving me a hard time here.
You go to my screen. Oh, yeah,
it's giving me a hard time. Let me reset the input here. Give me just a second, guys. But comes from India. Let's see if we can get this bad boy to work. Not wanting to work. Oh, that's unfortunate.
That's what you want.
I'll just read it. Adani loses top 100 billion in wake of Hindenburg research report. So you guys probably have never heard of Adani, but it is a very, very large company. And Adani Group is the name of the company. Adani is the last name of the entrepreneur. You might compare him to like an Elon Musk or a Jeff Bezos of India. I'm not going to spend too much time on this story, but it's huge. It's really, really big. Apparently, they were running some fraud and some market manipulation behind the scenes, and that's being alleged by a research firm, Hindenburg. So it looks like they're going down, Adani Group. I don't know all of the details, but it's not looking good over there. So if you have any kind of exposure to emerging market ETFs, this may affect that. Anything emerging market, maybe in your 401k, maybe something to look into. So you just wanted to throw that out there. We're the Investing Bros after all. We want to keep you abreast on all things investing, and this is a really big story. We're not going to hear about it too much here in the United States because more than likely Americans are invested in American companies, but Adani is a big company over there. All right. Let's see if we'll play along here. No, still not wanting.
Well, you can go to my screen quick for another crypto story.
Go for it.
I don't know if you guys have been seeing this on Twitter. There's an article written here by Claire Dickinson.
Okay.
All right. Meet the 20 most influential in crypto. I will give a special shout out every single day for the next week if you guys can recognize a single person on this little page. Who the heck are these people? Usman Ahmed, Deanna Biggs. Oh yeah, I gave you guys a cheater. Don't read the names there. If you actually knew who they were, Stephen Ashley, David Rutler, Philip Hammond, and Cindy Young. Who are these people? Like, I understand I don't know everything about everything, and there probably is a lot of people that are influential in crypto that I don't know. But I when I was reading this, like I think we've seen Altcoin Daily post on this. I think we've seen BitBoy post on this. I think we've seen a lot of different large crypto influencers post on this. Nobody knows who the heck these people are, and yet these are supposed to be the most influential people in crypto.
That's strange.
This is very, very strange. I will do more digging as to who these people are, because I mean, here's the thing: even though this is a weird pump up article, if they're considered the 20 most by this person, they have to be somewhat significant. Like they have to be doing something. So maybe we should know who Usman Ahmed, Deanna Biggs, Ombre Subaran, Stephen Ashley, David Rutler, Philip Hammond, and Cindy Young are. Like maybe those are names to keep in the back of our brains here for the future. But
Army Piper said he calls BS. He says T Shroom is not on there, calling me one of the top crypto influential people.
Well, to be fair, it says top 20 and it only shows us 7. So T Shroom might have made number 8 and he just didn't get the photo.
It's possible.
Acclimated. So it's
entirely possible, Tim. Well, I've restarted my computer. We'll see if it will go over there because there are some very, very juicy and important stories to get to. Let's see. Hey, now it's working. Okay, cool. So very important yesterday earnings reports in the TradFi space outside of crypto. Corporations that are registered with the SEC, they have to issue what's called earnings reports. And Meta did that yesterday. Meta, formerly Facebook. Meta's year of efficiency was everything Wall Street needed to hear from Zuckerberg. Zuckerberg, of course, the CEO of Meta Platforms. And he said, our management theme for 2023 is the year of efficiency, and we focused on becoming a stronger and more nimble organization. Hint, hint, cutting costs and focusing on actual revenue. And that's exactly what they needed to see. The first 18 years, I think, we grew, and this is his words, we grew in 20%, 30% compound, or a lot more every year, Zuckerberg said in the earnings call. And then obviously that changed very dramatically in 2022, where our revenue was negative for growth for the first time in the company's history. So those of you who haven't tracked the price of Meta here, let's go check it out, because it had a giant, oh my gosh, it's up 19% this morning, guys. Absolutely crazy. It had a giant sell-off over the last couple years. Oh, that is a giant gap. I didn't realize that was the candlestick. Look how far up that is. Okay, but from here down, let me see if I can get it. Yeah, there we go. Down to the bottom, a 77% sell-off. And guys, that was from early September of 2021. So around about's the top of a lot of the other assets, but most assets, I mean, this is kind of like Bitcoin's price movement, guys. This is not even Bitcoin. Like this is like Solana's price movement. And this is Facebook. So, a lot of folks thought that they over-invested into Meta and into the metaverse, and naming themselves Meta was obviously a huge symbolic move to do that. But now they are up 19% and a huge gap. But gaps get filled, guys. We'll see. I mean, we'll see what kind of pressure is going to happen. I mean, there's going to have to be something fundamental to return these prices back down. And that something is inflation, core inflation. And Tim, you were looking. Do you remember what you found the next core inflation print's going to be?
It's going to be February 14th, I believe. Where did I have that one? Yeah, so right here we got. We can zoom into. So these are going to be the next couple ones that are really important, because that's what people are asking right now. Is if the Fed didn't knock us down yesterday, what's the next date that can? So February 14th, we'll look at January's numbers, and again in January we should see food be a little higher, I'm saying we should. Looking at the egg prices, those weren't factored into this last one. We'll see how other ones resemble. I know Jerome Powell mentioned they're expecting housing to go up slightly. They're looking those numbers go a little higher. Oil, are we expecting oil to be higher or lower? I think oil should be a little lower still.
It's about the same. It's traded sideways. I mean, in the month of January, it came up to that $83 per barrel mark. But I think going over to my chart, you can see this is in case you guys haven't been tracking, this is what inflation's been looking like. Or it peaked up around 9.1, and it's now down to 6.5. So Jerome Powell, in all of his wisdom and all of the tools that he has access to, more than likely is seeing that in the tea leaves, like inflation's probably going to print lower. That is at least what is being predicted. Mm-hmm. But as you can see, there's kind of some support here from a technical analyst standpoint. So that's definitely not the way you would want to read this chart. But there is definitely a possibility that although it's on a decline, it may decrease the deceleration, and it could kind of plateau off or asymptote off instead of coming down to the 2% target that it needs to, and that would be a problem. That would not be good. That would show that inflation is more entrenched than we previously thought.
But it is going to be a thing that's really interesting. It's not simple because, again, even though we're going to see some of those numbers go up, we've had high interest rates now for a while, and he just gave another 25 basis points to it, and the expectation at this point he's going to do another 25 here in February, or here in March. There's a lot of factors going into it. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm not an expert enough, and if you guys are, let me know. I'm not an expert enough to do all of the mathematics to know what we should be expecting, but there's a chance that even with higher levels of prices for food and for for housing and everything else, that the inflation number still doesn't necessarily grow, maybe moves sideways, maybe just doesn't take a big dip just because of how high the interest rates are currently and the fact that he just raised them again. Remember that it's not like, I think sometimes, and I'm not saying anyone watching this show necessarily thinks this way, but I've definitely talked to people that almost, let me pause it. Our president, the president of the United States, thinks that
Joe Biden.
when he thinks that if inflation levels the same amount as it did the previous month, that means that it's over, like inflation's over. Like some people think that no interest rate hike. If we just do a 0, that's a good thing. It's like, no, we still have the same height as last month and the previous months that are staying still. It's not until you start cutting rates that you actually start to see some easing starting to happen. So even though we're expecting 2 more rate hike pumps, even when Jerome Powell goes into lockdown mode and says, all right, we're not raising it anymore, don't expect just this flip overnight and everything feels easy. No, the interest rate is still that high. It's still hard to borrow money. Because just every bit of interest is really, really high. And that's what's good about him getting the numbers up to where he has them. Right now we're sitting between, it's 450 to 475 right now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so having them that high,
yes,
and then we're going to keep raising those up, that makes it less of an incentive for people to borrow money. That does help tackle inflation, slowly taking bites out of it over and over and over again. And hopefully there becomes a balancing point where even though maybe prices of housing goes up a little, maybe oil goes up a little bit, just because of the borrowing, the incentive, the interest rate hikes, we end up balancing out or even continuing to descend to the downside. So keep your eyes on that. We won't really know until we actually see the numbers and get to hear more about that. Again, if you're a professional economist in chat, please tell me what your opinions are and where I'm wrong and where I'm right. I think it's gonna be a pretty fun next couple of months watching what we see happen there with interest rates and then inflation as well.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've got something really interesting to go ahead and take a look at here, which is the CME future predicting tool. Let's go ahead and look at some of these months that it's already predicting out, because so far it's been pretty accurate. I mean, yesterday it predicted it, it was 99% sure that it was going to be a 25 basis point hike. So help me look at this, Tim. So this chart here is showing that in March, which is when the next March 22nd is the next Fed decision, it's going to plateau, meaning there's no hike at all. Is that what it's pricing in right now? 92.7% likelihood.
No, that's a pump.
Okay, so that would be an increase. I thought that's where it is
another
now.
25. No, we're at 450 to 475.
450 to 475. Okay, so only 17% likelihood, I stand corrected, that it would be a 0 hike. So neither a hike nor a cut, just a pause, but an 82% likelihood of another 25 basis point hike. Okay. But looking in December, so we can look at some more of these. Let's look in July before we look at December. So in December, we're thinking that once there's another 25 basis point hike, that it's going to pause all the way through July.
Well, I think even more so. So we just looked at March. Go look at May real quick. Let's see what he says for May.
So in May,
so there. Okay, so this is what this tool is saying currently. Let's go to March real quick.
Yeah, it's pause after March.
March says up 25. Go to May, so we get 2 months. We had 2 months gap. It's saying 0. So it's saying one more interest rate hike of 25 and then pause. So that's May. Let's go to June.
Pause.
No interest. Just staying still. Let's go to the next one.
July. Pause.
Pause. Nothing.
September.
Same. Pause. It's saying in September, maybe we start to make a cut, but for right now, it's still 38% saying pause. Just don't do nothing.
By November, still pause.
No. Now that 450 to 475.
That's where the pivot.
November. It is predicting at this point. November is the first cut. Is what we're looking at right there.
And then by December, it's about the same.
And no, that's another cut.
It would be another cut.
Another cut in December.
I'm glad, Tim. I'm glad you're here because I've misinterpreted these every single time. Tim is so much better with the CME tool. So yeah, exactly what Tim has been saying.
Well, what I think is interesting here is, okay, so this is another thing that we have to remember that Jerome Powell said yesterday. He was talking about dot plots. What we know in the past ones is he talked about the desire to get us up to 5.1, which means the levels have to be between 5 and 5.25. He mentioned them yesterday and said, we will be updating those next month. So even that was a little bit of a dovish, like, are you gonna you kind of act like everything's good, but you want to do a little bit more, but the only reason to update them is if you want to cut them. So is this pricing tool already factoring in he's going to come out next month with the 25 basis point rate hike, and then he's going to say, by the way, guys, we're good right here. We're going to let it sit here for a couple of months. Let's see if it gets under control. If we start to lose control, we'll go up again. But right now, we think we can actually hang tight at between 4.75 and 5. We don't need that extra 25. Let's see how this goes, and at the end of the year, we might even be able to pivot. Very, very interesting stuff. Very interesting stuff. A lot to keep interesting. But here's the thing. For right now, bullish. For right now, the markets have room to run to the upside.
They do.
And then we'll every single time. So go back to my screen real quick. So those dates, we're going to keep watching those. But the other things is let's keep watching back and forth between what they say at the FOMC and then these dates right here. We got February 14th is going to be important. March 14th, April 12th, May 10th, 13th, 12th, 10th, 13th. Okay, so as we keep going on, I'll put this in our Discord so you guys can see that. But yeah, these dates and the dates of the FOMC meetings are going to be massive at depicting, does the market have the freedom and ability to keep going to the upside, or will it go to the downside? Another thing to keep a watch on is going to be when they do pivot. Historically, pivots when we move from being hawkish to dovish, when we go from raising rates into now cutting rates, traditionally the stock market actually ends up dipping. We don't know about crypto. We've never seen Bitcoin and crypto actually respond to significant pivots in the Fed, the Federal Reserve. So it's going to be interesting to watch. Some people are saying it's just going to copy stocks, but we don't know that for certain. So there's a lot of unknowns about the rest of this year that we're going to keep our eyes on and keep you up to date with.
Now, why would that be, Tim? Why does the stock market cut? Why does the stock market go down when there's a cut?
Yeah, the truth, I don't know the exact reason why, but something that I've read about it and something that people talk about is even though when the Fed pivots, you would think that's a good thing. The reason they're pivoting is because the economy has gotten to a place where we're in a rough economy. So even though it's nice that being able to borrow money isn't as high, you still just been run through a ringer of pretty harsh economy. And it's just something that the market kind of follows that way, that it usually rallies into the pivot point. When the pivot point comes, it gives itself a little bit of a dip, and then after a couple of months of that, then it ends up rallying in and going to new all-time highs. So the highs are coming. It's just one of those things that it's like historically we see that happen, and it's going to be with, we could see it change. There's nothing that says it has to do that, but traditionally we see the stock market fall after a pivot. I did see a comment from Matt. Is that what you were laughing at?
I was laughing at somebody said to think that our president. Oh yeah, Crypto Mini Bike said saying our president thinks is a pretty bold statement.
That's rough.
That's pretty brutal.
That's pretty rough.
But seriously though, guys, so we got a huge amount of data yesterday, right? We got a super chat here from Brad Geidel. We'll get to in just a second, but let me get through this thought. We heard a new word from Jerome yesterday, and that's disinflation. It's basically a fancy word that is describes this chart that we've showed already today, but it's inflation going down, right? It's this phenomenon. This is disinflation. And we hadn't heard that from Jerome Powell yet, and it's kind of all over the news on CNBC, Wall Street Journal's talking about it. That is kind of the new term here. And what that begs the question of is, are we out of the woods? Are we out of the woods? And my answer is, and I wrote this down, not out of the woods yet, but the wood line is thin enough to see the light. I think that's kind of where we are right now, where and if you're the riskiest trader, if you're in a risky tranche, if you're willing to take on some risk, you probably go ahead and buy because the market is forward looking. It doesn't care if we're completely out of the woods yet. Are we trending in a direction of getting out of the woods? That's what the market cares about. And that's what, if you're trading, that's what you're trading on. Investing is different. You don't put your money in to an investment in a Roth IRA or a 401k until you are out of the woods, right? So you're a little more conservative in that way, and that's a major distinction. But traders, you trade on the rumor. So are we out of the woods yet? I think we're so close that it's pretty much. I mean, and we did go ahead and title our thumbnail today. We put a question mark at the end there, but I think it's getting. There's less and less arguments to say that we haven't bottomed. And I think that there's really nothing stopping us except for that February 14th meeting.
If inflation gets out of control, we could see some problems.
That's it. If there's a decelerating rate of deceleration, if disinflation slows, that could be a bad sign, and the Fed may have to take more aggressive action. So that's kind of my analysis from yesterday. Just been soaking it all in. I am looking. So how does that translate into practical buying and selling? I am looking to buy things that pop up today and then start to correct. So Meta is looking attractive to me. Anything in the Nasdaq is pretty attractive. From a crypto standpoint, I'm looking at probably buying a little more Atom. I'm also interested in Tron and other names like that. But I am looking to buy. Here. Haven't bought yet, though. That's kind of my conclusion on it.
Yeah. Well, hey, we're going to wrap up today's show real quick. We want to read that super chat from Brad Geidel, and I have an important announcement. I told you guys, for those of you who have held on, thank you for holding on. We got a good announcement for you guys. But Brad Geidel said, congrats on super chats. Great show. Love y'all. Have a great day. We love you, Brad, our friend from Wisconsin.
Much,
so, big announcement. We have had a Discord now for a couple of weeks, 2 weeks, I think. Yep. And to be able to get into it, you had to have gone to our description. You had to join our Patreon, one of those 3 tiers, which are phenomenal tiers, and we got some special stuff happening there. But that's how you got into our Discord. Well, after some feedback and talking at our last BizDev meeting, we have decided, you know what? Now that we kind of have this built, we kind of understand what's going on here. We are going to be opening up that Discord for you guys to join for free. Link in the description down below. Go click on it. You can join right now. There are going to be levels, obviously, that are still for our paid members. So if you want some deeper access, some more TA, if you want more access to the AMAs, behind the scenes videos, we're going to be doing some interviews with some of the special people in the space. Maybe not some of the 20 most influential, but other influencers that you guys know and love. But you have to be on our Patreon to be able to see those. But if you just want to come in and engage with us and join with us and be a part of our community, we now have a free option in that Discord. Make sure you go check it out right now. We're going to be over there. Even though we both work throughout the day, we're constantly in there. So hopefully we'll get to talk to you more in that Discord. Guys, that's all we have for you in today's show, but we are super excited about where crypto is going, where this channel is going, where this community is going. And we love that you guys have been a part of it every step of the way. If you have not already, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Go join that Discord. Smash that like button. We still got 111 people watching, but only 85 smashed mittens. Go smash that white button.
Smash them.
We love you guys. We will see you tomorrow. Same time, same place, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You guys have a great day.